Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. I'm your host, Sir Stephen Topham at the third at your service. Now we're going to talk about this topic a little bit seriously. Now, other connections. So, what we're going to be doing, we're going to be talking about other connections besides what I already or what my family has got in communications with, right? A lot of people will ask questions. It may be clues and there may be answers, right? I want you to realize that I'm not just connected through the Thomas franchise. I'm connected with Murder She Wrote, The Bill, and Star Trek included, and Smallville, and Power Rangers, the full whack. Right? When you think about all of those connections, right, then you got to think about, oh God, he's a real. I'm the real Stephen Topham the third, born on the 10th of October, 1983. Right? The thing is, what a lot of people don't expect is that I have connections and communications everywhere, right? Acknowledging what has been unfolded and what is really getting down to earth. People are asking one more question: Who is my lady Hatt? Well, her piece, let's say the pieces that I'm looking for to get the answers, I have to let it unfold naturally to get it through. So we So, as the other connections that I have, it can go through any franchise, any connection, even artists, music artists. We go through all the BS on top. We skip the BS for a moment and acknowledge what have we established by acknowledging I have eyes and ears everywhere. It's establishing the point, right? I have eyes and ears everywhere. A lot of people, right? I want to be honest with you, right? A lot of people, I don't like reboots, right? They should, a lot of people will obviously agree with me on this one, right? We don't want reboots in any diversion, right? And we understand that we got a lot of friends in high places, if you want to call them correctly. But with me and my family, we have connections and family and friends around the globe. We acknowledge we have eyes and ears everywhere. Doesn't matter if you live in the United States or Australia or the UK, and Europe, obviously, and establish that, right? Even Japan and China and all the other places. We we establish that clues are everywhere. They're not all in the same place, right? I have a connect. I have a what you call a private connection in the Power Rangers, right? People don't realise why is the black, pink, and green got to do with it. What we're talking about, Jason David Frank, who his daughter is called Jenna or Jenny Frank, now taken over the Green Ranger role, which is example, right? I have other two connections, which is Amy Jo Johnson and Walter Amelia Jones. Why? Why is Jones and Walter Amelia, right? Walter Jones, who plays Zach Taylor, right? Why is their names Zach Taylor, Black Ranger, and Amy Jo's character Kimberly Hart? Now, does that give you a ring ding ding? Well, if you haven't worked it out already, we have that connection in Thomas and Friends. So a lot of my puzzle pieces are still scattered a little bit, but I'm getting there piece by piece, and then people are gonna start wondering, what else are you connected to? Superman, obviously. being Christopher Reeve. He died on my birthday in 2004. Then 3 days I lost my grandfather. 3 days later, I lost my grandfather on my mother's side of the family. So acknowledging that the connections are everywhere, even people I know, people I meet up with, communicate with. But when you want the bottom line of other connections, what other connections have you got? I said, I know everybody, right? I don't establish where they come from or where they live, right? All I know, I've got other connections around me, right? As I live in the United Kingdom, in 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 Sheringham, in Wellsworth, which is Sodor, upside down, which is Norfolk, upside up, upside Norfolk, upside down is Sodor. Let's put it correctly, and acknowledge that I know everybody in Norfolk, right? From the good people, people that don't believe, people that do believe, people that are part of the franchise for obvious reasons, and connections are everywhere around the globe as well, right? I know there's one question that floats on everybody else's mind. Who is my wife? Right? The answer has been found, and I'll repeat, I have found out what the answer is, but I'm letting it play out. Right? Because I don't want to get people's hopes up and acknowledge that I'm going to be going the opposite direction when I don't need to be. Right? A lot of people know, yes, the Northwestern Railway Company, the company that I own, is all of Norfolk. Right? Whatever's left of the railway, right? Itself. So acknowledging that the Northwestern Railway Company will always grow in times. Greater Anglia doesn't own nothing, right? As example, right? There may be a connection, but they are supporting the Northwestern Railway Company, right? And when it comes to push to shove, everybody will pick up the pieces slowly again and build it up for the next generation. But where it concerns in my family, I have to then have to put my foot down and say, let's 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 get my son Richard in the picture, right? That's number one. Number two, right, which is where the big picture is my granddaughter Emily Helen Hatt herself. I got the clue for that, but I'm not allowed to say anything further than that. But if the community's already worked it out, the puzzle piece will be in their heads and they will not share it, right? Because it's my private life, right? So when I work my butt off to try to get you where you are from 1958 right up to now, you're learning everything. You're gaining information. You're not just getting my other connections or understanding about my connections. It's about who is involved, who's your private connections, and establish those connections can't be destroyed because they have their offspring, they go descendantly, right? At the moment, you have a problem on the North Norfolk Railway, which I will go back to because I want that to be established to say, don't go to it. The more you fuel them, the more they're going to gain what they want, right? They're advertising at the moment on Facebook, they're advertising this. They go with A, B, C, and D, and they're ending up failing because they can't work out why. They can't work out why. Why? They try to work out a question they're asking me personally, right? I'm going to give it the answer publicly. because I don't want people asking the same question from everybody else's mouth, right? You have to establish that I'm alive, I'm well, I'm connected, right? By blood, right? You have to establish everybody that has been in a position or been in a position where you couldn't get out of a certain predicament, right? The thing is, a lot of people can't do what is needed to be done until they notice what's actually unfolded. So, I know who my lady Hat is, but I'm not revealing the identity of her. So I establish who it is, but I'm not at liberty to give it out, right? So the fact remains is that there is an A, there's a B, and there's a C, right? My grandfather got married first and had my father, who's Charles Topham at the second. Then he got married first in his well, he was the only male in the family, may I add, at that time. I was the next one in line because I was the firstborn son from him. So I became Stephen Toppenhat the third. So acknowledging that going forward, I was all doing the story for you unfoldedly and making sure that goes correct. Every part of people in the community, right? A lot of you might think we've just gone balmy or whatever. Yeah, well, NHS doesn't know nothing, right? We've got to accept that, right? They're learning still. They're adapting. They're understanding everything, what's unfolded. They're waking up, smelling the coffee, and realise I can see the logic. They will say, oh, I understand where he's coming from. I can understand what is unfolded. We can understand why it unfolded the way it did. Why? The answer is very clear. The thing is, the answer will always be there. But the thing is, when people refuse to say, "Oh, I don't believe you," or "I don't give a whatever, whatever," they go their own way, whatever. Then the people that don't believe it, just look at the bigger picture because there's a lot of details and a lot of positions. There are a lot of calculations. There's a lot of improvement to get forward. But the third gen, myself and my wife, obviously, have to go forward, no matter what obstacles we have to cross over. We understand the accomplishment that we're getting, right? This morning, obviously, because I go to my favourite coffee shop or tea room and establish I'm making a new connection. Ding, ding. Right? I won't give out this individual's name, confidentiality, as they call it, and establish that all I'm doing is playing the waiting game. Why is that? Now, a lot of you might think I'm drinking my favourite tea and have my breakfast in the morning, etc. And as be sociable, obviously, and acknowledge there's more people to associate with and everything else, and acknowledge that I'm I'm not alone. Is the word to express it, right? So, from my private connection, right, to me personally, right, I've been told information this morning, and I passed it on to her. I won't give out the individual's name, but I said this and this, and then I vice versa it back. And she said, "How did you know that?" She said, "Just say that I've got eyes and ears everywhere." It's just been acknowledging that it's true, right? When people think they can push and shoved to a point where they think they can break me. They cannot break me because I'm too really useful and I'm always up front with people to a certain level degree. There's privacy and there's information they can have, right? I break what I say that comes out of my mouth. I have to split it into two categories: private life, work life. Separate them all. But when I'm in a tea room, then it becomes mutual to a point, right? Sometimes private life stays at private life. Work life is work life. We have to establish that there's more unfolding here than your naked eye can see. So when you look and realise why is the North Norfolk Railway failing, the answer is that they booted out what they shouldn't have done. Right? They got a guilty conscience, as they say. Right? When you have that guilty conscience, then they realise they screwed up big time and then they can't fix the problem. As I stated in the previous podcast, and Duck's story, obviously, there's another previous podcast you can look into. And it acknowledges to to what has unfolded already, right? Duck's story was the hardest one to fix, right? Because it was all entwined with other stories included, right? We have to establish Duck is prideful. He worked at the age of 14, as we established in Duck's story. He was born on the 22nd of September, 1963. So he's only 20 years older than I. So work it out. There's no confusion or delay. It's fact. Right? When people look at look at Duck today, oh, everybody calls him whatever the real name he was given at the time, right? It's his personality that makes you think twice, right? Let's talk about my other connections that I don't often bring in, right? I want to establish something to you before I get further and further into the podcast, and I want to make sure that you have your cup of coffee or your tea or coffee, whatever you drink in the morning, and establish two wrongs don't make a right. You know that as a start. But I want people to realise how much more is the North Norfolk Railway willing to give you. Right? The money is too high. We established that. That's in prices, and and I have said it in multiple podcasts ahead of me, or ahead of that podcast. So establish the needs and the wants, and what understanding what you can, what you gain from your day or your experience on that railway every day. Right? If you did that a whole way route, let's say they're now crying wolf. Right? They're crying wolf because they're losing. They can't work it out why. The North Norfolk Railway is basically a camouflage name. The real name for that railway is the North Western Railway Company. Right? We don't discriminate. We get volunteers in play. We get employees in play. We do not, whatever happened in 2019 should not happen at all. Right? We established that. But the boundaries at that time was that they were picking on people that thought, oh, this person did well at this job, we could push him up harder, or push him harder, or do that. Do you know what? They nearly broke my back for sending me to a place where they shouldn't done. Right? So when you got bad management, becomes a bad railway. Right? I don't want the rail network or the network rail or any of their management to use the North Norfolk Railway as their playground because that's what I am trying to establish. I have eyes and ears in their office, right? I have connections that can see through everything. right? We have to establish then the people that are in there that got my eyes and ears and my connections in there, the people that connected to connected, vice versa. It goes down like a chain of command and acknowledge you cannot boot people out just because they got strengths, very good strengths, bad weaknesses, etc., etc. People have to learn, right? Learn from their mistakes, learn for everything. But they're not gaining it no more because there's something holding back. When other connections come in play, they are not there to play. They're there to support, work, and aid people. I have noticed a lot of my former employees just doing just that. Why? Because they enjoy the job they were given, right? Or they when they sign up for a job, when they volunteer, or when they want to be employee of it. I have to separate the employees with the volunteers, guide them all the way through the same principles, the track safety tests, and their qualifications and their CVs and so forth. I don't, in my position, because I'm a big boss and I'm in charge of the North Norfolk Railway for slash the North Western Railway Company. I'm establishing that and say, look, grow up, look at it from the stop when you're on that platform. Doesn't matter if you're porters, guards, or volunteers or employees, they all taking the risk to go on that platform. By doing that, they're not realizing people's strengths, weaknesses, and then ending up flushing out what would have been an easy access to say, look, okay, there are options available besides doing what is best to everybody's capability. But when you improve and when you acknowledge the North Norfolk Railway, the name itself is gone. History. Why? We already established, the community's already hearing me out, watching me out. Why? People have their best interests on me because they know they're looking after somebody like me, Stephen Topham Hatt the third, knows or they know that they know who I was before I even mentioned it out. Why? The whole community, the whole world knows about me. Why? When they read it in different languages or different tongues or different religions, even that, acknowledge that a southern race has come back to life. Right? Acknowledge that. A southern race. It's not just a connection, but it's the actual bloodliners coming back in. When when my grandfather had to do the necessary to protect the team, he safeguarded his own firstborn grandson, which is me. So work it out. My Sir Top of that the first realised that he had his firstborn grandson. That's who he met. But I wasn't the only one born in 1983. Someone close to me who's got that same respect, same honesty, same everything, but we are. It's like saying when my grandfather was around, right? Sir Topham Hatt the first, right? He had connections in sharing them. He had connections in restaurants and he had connections in crime. Same, same amount of people, same amount of people, right? In every angle. And a lot of people say, why is these connections coming back to you? As example, I know a lot of people are asking me that question. Why are they coming to you? Why do they love you? Why do they care about you? Did you ever realize that that when my grandfather was at his prime, he made it quite clear, right? when he was speaking to my great uncle at the time as well, I'm gonna set most of the people free here, just for acknowledgement, right? A certain race existed for a lot longer than what you think, right? A lot of people say, why? Why is there Thomas's personality in me, right? That's my purpose, sir. That's right, Thomas, and every angle. And acknowledge what just happened. When it was my grandfather's era, he wasn't just Sir Topham at the first, he was also James, the Red Engine. Right? What number does James have? As example, is number 5. So what happened? When James was really useful to a point, right? He set up at the first in 1958 / James, yes, but then he found somebody that had that similar personality for the second gen. So work it out. It wasn't his son for starters. My father, Charles Topham at the second, right? Like I said, and I will quote, when he married my mother, Charles Topham Hatt, who did he give birth to? Stephen Topham Hatt the third / Thomas the Tank Engine. So I basically got Thomas the Tank's voice as well. So a certain race exists for a reason, right? Let's talk about religion, right? Because we're gonna have there's other connections around this, right? Why do the Hatts work with all religions, all God, the same God we worship? Every continent around the globe, with every Hatt member of the family, including myself, Stephen Topham Hatt the third. Right? What establishes? Right? You got a whole Hatt family around the globe. Right? You establish everybody worships every one of us. Because like I said, every day is a special day. Quoted by Duck himself. Now, if I really want to push it to the edge to get the North Norfolk Railway back on track, which is my company, which is North Western Railway Company, the first things first is to get a new name for the North Norfolk Railway. And I classify it to be the North Western Railway Company. Why? Because the North Norfolk Railway PLC is corrupted. It's like a government being corrupted. But this is the railway part of it. Right? The North Norfolk Railway is corrupted now because they've got PLC on the end, on top. Right? When the North Norfolk Railway wasn't corrupted, it was in the hands of a certain race. We know everything, eyes and ears everywhere. So acknowledge that everyone we come in contact with are either descendant. Let me put this in perspective, right? Let's take the 5 engines, right? Thomas the Tank, Edward, Henry, Gordon, and James as example, right? How many how many how many people do you think one engine represents? A family, a friend, and connection. 3 things for one engine on every engine, right? Because we work as a team, right? So that maybe you may be let's say I am 3rd gen Fat Controller, but I'm also Thomas the Tank. Indifferently, sir. Bust my buffers! Exactly, Thomas, and every angle. And you can acknowledge that, right? Lead of the team, Batman back in charge. Now work it out. If I got that, so does Edward, so does Henry, and so does Gordon. They all got it. Right? The very first five. Then you're adding on the rest of the steam team. All have the same thing. So when when the time is right, you're understanding the principles why it's such a waste. Right? When we deal with religion, getting back to that, it's understanding that religion for us, we have our own religion, don't get me wrong, but we are extenders of that religions, every religion. We do not just stick to one religion. I'm a Christian. I've been confirmed. I'm part of the Holy Trinity Church. But I see the Holy Bible as not as one story. There's always different sides of these stories from different religions, and they always equals the same thing, right? My friend, right, from America, Alison Mack, who you know from Smallville, right? She was the Watchtower, right? Establishing that the religion, right, that a lot of people know of, said there are three stages in life, right? You've got God, and you've got something in between, and that. It's not just about Jesus. Jesus will always be the Son of God, but there's more. There's more to it, right? A lot of people don't pick up and say, "Oh, we got Moses and we got Daniel, we got the principles of the Bible, which is true." The southern race represents all of it, all of them. Why? Because we are not a discriminated people. We are well respected people. We don't push the boundary unless the boundary has been deceived by a diesel team. Now, a diesel team at the moment are falling, right? The North Norfolk Railway, the name itself, has been blacklisted, as you want to call it, right? In English terms. But in Southern race terms, that's the same thing. That's the same principles. Why? Because we are acknowledging the North Norfolk Railway PLC will no longer be available to us. Right? So the name has to be changed to the North Western Railway Company because people are seeing the light. If we keep it as a North Norfolk Railway, it's going to be part of darkness all the time. Since 2019, it's been through darkness, through hell. People got booted out. People got this. People got that. Doesn't matter. Employees, volunteers, the full whack, even myself. But the thing was, what they did not know then, they know now. Now they're paying the price. Because I come back to recorrect everything. Right? It's going to take a little while, but I want people to understand the North Norfolk Railway name doesn't exist anymore. People expect it to be that name for all the time. We will still have poppies to represent, right? From like I stated in my long podcasts, I stated to you the connection to Cromer or Natford going all the way to Holt is the poppy line, right? The Bitten line only goes into Cromer and all the way into Norwich. Because basically that's their line, right? When it comes to Cromer all the way to Holt, that's the poppy line. Ding ding. So when that comes to go, it will make sense in the longer note. But when you think about what people's needs are at the same time, we go through different religions, we've got multiple personalities because we are a certain race, very powerful race. But some, the Hatts, are biological. We have to continue the family, extend the family further. But we are getting to that point, right? People are asking, who's your lady hand? I said it's confidential. Why? Because I'm trying to safeguard her. So if people picked up on it, or got the signs or acknowledgement of it, they can't say nothing but let it play out. So when you think that when we are moving about through Sheringham or Weybourne or Holt or Cromer or West London or Norwich or anywhere, or even in Great Yarmouth or Lower Stop area, etc., people start to have to pick up on these things and realise it's true, it's reality, it's fact, it's logic. But the Southern language exists through the people that got the personalities of the engines, and even myself as a Hat. Stephen Topham Hatt the third is here. I'm here. Acknowledge that and realise I have I have multiple religions, right? So when you think what is is the gain from this is understanding what is in front of you, right? A lot of people think it's a lot of BS, but I said no, it's no BS, right? Right? So the Southern race as a whole have the same rules and regulations applied as the law. You see, the law is another thing, right? We obey the law, but we have a little bit of advantage too on this because we are monitoring everybody, eyes and ears everywhere, and establish that we're not a type of people that are normally public-wise, right? Except myself, right? The Hats are public-wisers because we have to acknowledge that every Hat member of the family that rises, so does steam, which we have to take into a big consideration. And we have to acknowledge that everything you're learning from me, you're gaining information, but at the same time, a lot of people say, right, there are a lot of reasons why a lot of people in the M&GN circle or society or the Norfolk Railway or any heritage railway for that matter, they have to realise it's realistic. The day out of Thomas is the ruse, right? Because when the realistic thing continues on and on and on, you're trying to do what what happened was the day I wised, the reincarnations start to come out, right? The reincarnations are people's like certain people in my family and other parts and their connections and their descendants, etc. A lot of people, it's a roulette to a point, but it isn't. It's stuffing in the family crests that we don't use in this modern day era, right? Which we establish. This is why I'm putting mine up because it's realistic to help people understand what they are facing and what they are dealing with and how to accommodate people's needs and wants, etc., and acknowledge the North Norfolk Railway won't be there for much longer because they already lost the battle because they screwed it up from 2019. And we want people to understand there's more. We have connections everywhere. We have established that the more we you understand, the easier it becomes on us because won't be. It's not like 1958 where it was so easy to work with, motivate with, and coordinate with. A lot of people that were children at that time are now in their 80s, 70s, or their 60s and realize and pushing and realize their descendants are passing the buck. Right? So what has happened now? The third gen and now have to start realizing you as the team, you got to move in a way that it works for others. But at the same time, you as the race, or a Southern race is what I call it, a Southern race existed for a long time. You can't ignore it. Okay, there were mistakes that were made in the past, and I want to acknowledge that when you unfold something or try and get the story unfolded correctly, I'm now gonna tell you another bit of a story here. Right? This is no lie. Right, the question that I'm gonna throw at everybody, right? How did Douglas get to Sodor? Question. How did Douglas get to Sodor? Now, I know the answer to this in real life, but are you prepared to hear this out? Charles Topham Hatt II, after marrying my mother, got married two more times, so it's a second marriage, right? During the time of the second marriage, Douglas came into the picture. Douglas is my half brother. So, with my great uncle Donald, who came onto Sodor, he's now got problems of his own. His twin brother Douglas is my half brother. How is that? Very clever, isn't it? So when you think of Charles Topham Hatt II, got married a second time, then ending up marrying the third time round. What did he gain in the third time round? Nothing. So the second time was his only big bash, if you will. But the first time he had me. I know a lot of you know the Thomas mythology inside and out, which is fiction to the point, but it's facts coming through to you. So how did Douglas get to Sodor? And the answer is that it's to do with my half brother Douglas when he was born on Sodor. So he didn't come directly with Donald. Donald came first. So he became onto Sodor first, and then bang. Then my half brother Douglas is the second one. So they 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 are one is older, one is younger. Right? Why is Douglas got number? You got Donald. You probably got Douglas 9, Donald 10. I think it is, or the opposite way. Donald and Douglas. They're 9 and 10 because everybody got confused of their numbers. So acknowledging this is making you look and realize, oh shit, it's his family. Ding ding. There's another member set of family you're not aware of. Right? You got the Coopers, which is my mother's side of the family. You got the Hats on my father's side of the family. And then you got the Acknowledge. Who else is in the family fold? So let me tell you a little hint. The Hats have been around for a very long time, right? But to acknowledge it, Sir Topham Hatt the First's father was the first one on Sodor, but he isn't a senior. He is basically saying, look, okay, the senior has always been near Glasgow in Scotland. There's a place near Glasgow anyway. But the fact is, you got Sir Topham Hatt the First, born in 1934, and he is now deceased. Now you got my father still alive, Charles Topham Hatt the Second. Then you got me. So, in layman terms, it's played out the way it would, as it does, but it's my grandfather's grandfather that is the senior. So it skips a generation to make a generation. But the people are starting to get the answers they're looking for. But what are they asking now for? Where is Lady Hatt? Question. The answer is unknown at this present time. So when you acknowledge that this is not a joke, you're gonna realize, oh shit, he knows a lot more. The clue was in the puzzle. The Hatts married another set of family you're not aware of. Right? My ascendants. Right? We all knew this was gonna come out one of these days. Right? You think there's 30 years missing? Well, there was. If I'm connected to the Hatts, the Coopers, and the Mansons, obviously, because they basically run in the same bloodline. Hatts and the Mansons, they run in the same. Hatts are blood related to us. Period. And guess what? The Hatts were married to the Lynn family. Lynn. Which goes back to William Lynn. And that's going back before even before my grandfather was totally born. And that's before I was even born. So then what happens? The Hatt family was alive and well. So when you really look down and really look down the bottom line of it all, ask yourself, if my grandfather is the Sir Topham Hatt the First, right? You got my father, Sir Charles Topham Hatt the Second, and then you got me, Stephen Topham Hatt the Third. But a lot of people call me Sir Stephen Topham Hatt the Third at most times. But the reality factor is that we have connections everywhere. So, with all my family quests all connected, we may be connected in a big way, but it's true. Everybody asks, why was the Thomas franchise at the beginning was true to the T, but why was the the Hatt family mentioned instead of the opposite direction? In reverse, that's who we are. We are the Hatts by blood. So when people ask me, where's Sir Topham Hatt the First? He's deceased. Charles Topham Hatt the Second is alive and well, and Joshua Hatt is still alive as well, including myself, Stephen Topham Hatt the Third. But like I said, there's more connections involved. More family members are involved. There's other people involved that I would not go into detail. But the fact is, reality is there of it. You may not see it because it may be before your time or during your time. Get your eyes and ears to realize it, and it's all there, black and white. and acknowledging the way it's played out so well, you can work out if it was going faster or slower. The problem with a lot of people today, even in the connections in the in the United States and the United Kingdom and Australia and and Europe, the rest of Europe, it all makes sense in the end of the day where it all stands. So you got all my family, you have the Coopers and their connections, then you have the Hatts and their connections, then my then you got myself and my connections. So everybody that we know, I know. I don't BS on this, right? When the Norfolk Railway fails, then the North Western Railway Company will rise, and what it's trying to do because the Norfolk Railway is just at before 2019 it was well respected. Now it's got so disrespected, the name is meaningless to the public. They see that the North Western Railway Company is what it travels under. Because when it's an NWR, it's well respected again. When it's an NNR, then it gets disrespected. So work it out that my grandfather was in the right place at the right time. And I acknowledge that Sir Topham the first, then and my father, Charles Topham the second, and then myself, Stephen Topham the third. Nobody can ever take away what has already been set in motion before you were born, and acknowledging it to the children in your ancestors and telling them, and they grew up, and they told you, and vice versa, and going down the line. There's a chain of command, and acknowledge that what you're witnessing is the actual event itself. You got to acknowledge. You can't say like, "Oh, sugar, I didn't realize that was a." The way I knew about my family and my connection to the family is that the Hatts and the Mansons were separate entities, but now they are combined as one because of the establishment, the way the story was unfolded. Acknowledge that you can't change what has been unfolded. I'm going to tell you a bit more on everything that has happened so far. It make you eye bubbling eyes, as they say, make your eyes bubble up and realize there is a lot of truth. So when I was working in the North Norfolk area in 2001, North Norfolk area in 2001, I established everything that was there. Right? When people saw me, they respect me. They gave me, they supported me in every angle, in every direction. As private people as we are, we have kept everything private until I was ready. Right? Before I got booted out, right, I was trying to get close, very close to a private connection of mine. Right? A friend of a family, if you will. To establish that to I formed my private connection for slash a friend of the family that I felt uneasy. Right? It wasn't the management's interference. Right? That came later. I saw my employees, I saw my volunteers, I saw everything unfold. What do you think is to acknowledge that everything unfolds for a reason, right? I know a lot of you respect my grandfather for a big damn reason, right? But you have to respect me as well. You have to have 50-50 equals 100. You can't have one without the other, right? A lot of people assume that I'm not a normal human being. That's for sure. I'm a southern bloodline person. A southern race is so powerful, even for a Hatt family member, to acknowledge that I have responsibility as it is in black and white. Right? If things don't unfold correctly, terrible things will happen. More worse than what it is, right? I tried to acknowledge to you when you read those Thomas the Tank books, right? The answers are already there. I know the community are on board listening to this podcast all the way through. With 20,000 views for the whole channel itself, to acknowledge you that what 20k views for this channel, why this channel is so popular, right? The truth unfolds naturally. Yes, the government in my position right now, a lot of some of my contacts are from the government, but the government are not gonna be like, uh, sugar, yep, right? People are picking up the answers, picking up respect, answers, and collusions, and understanding what is unfolding is out of their control, right? So when they acknowledge, when they realize it's all realistic, they're gonna end up, not thinking straight because they got to take and absorb it so slowly. They have to acknowledge everything that's around them. So when the, when the, any when my next generation of my family rises, the steam will always be there. But even when I'm here and acknowledging it to the world and say, I found my lady hat, but I can't acknowledge her identity. That's confidential, right? A lot of people will say, what the hell is he talking about? Well, I think a lot of people don't realise that the lady hat that is shown in the TV show or the RWS format are connected. That's all I can say. I acknowledge that a lot of people have been asking that question for nearly for few years now. But I said patience is the virtue, and it's the biggest thing in the world that you have to establish. That the other question that you probably got in your head or on your mind at the moment: why is all my steam team all on standby? One, they have been disrespected. Dis- Disrespected. The new generation, the third generation, is all on standby, while the second gen is retiring. They haven't got the strength or the material to do the work they need to do. So all my third gen is all around the globe. So when we acknowledge strengths and weaknesses, the North Western Railway Company is what the North Norfolk Railway is called today. The North Western Railway Company. We don't call ourselves a company because I have to break down their volunteers department. right? When you work for my company, I'm gonna say it's called the Northwestern Railway Company, or not company, not PLC or anything like that. It's just the Northwestern Railway Company, but it's not a company. It's the Northwestern Railway in general. That's its main name, Northwestern Railway, right? And everybody asks, why is Sheringham called Wellsworth? Why is Cromer called Knapford? Why is restaurant being called Crosby? Or why is the railway station at Rayborn called Marin? Southern language. Ding ding. And when it comes to the North Western Railway, as the name, that's the name that the North Norfolk Railway travels under. Because it acknowledges that it's realistic, not a children's play toy. Right? We acknowledge about everything that's going on up there. I'm not going to repeat it, but acknowledging the fact is that the Northwestern Railway itself will not tolerate to have a company to put in volunteers as well. Doesn't work. The North Norfolk Railway is gone. It's history. You have to forget about it. You have to realise it's the boundary. Doesn't matter how much they advertise or beg for mercy or they want that, they want this, and they want that. They're not going to get it because they broke the barrier that they should not done. They crossed the line. So acknowledging that the Northwestern Railway is taking over it because we're acknowledging the facts, the logic, and the truth. It's about the boundary which they crossed their boundary already, right? The management, the staff, but the volunteers haven't done nothing wrong. All they needed is more respect. But the employees at the time, not the management, I will deal with the management last. The employees got to learn a new method and realise respect respect the volunteers as equals. If you don't, you're going to end up having bad problems, right? So when you look at the North Norfolk Railway today, don't treat it as the North Norfolk Railway because it's not the railway name anymore. The name has put everybody down, bad reputation, disrespectful, dishonesty, and they're not being honest with you, right? So we've stripped that name out and put the Northwestern Railway in as its main title because it's establishing it. So when you look and realise it's realistic, the Norfolk Railway PLC is what it's calling itself, right? You can't have a company and have volunteers working there too. Doesn't work. So why do you think I've gone back and back and back to reset the button to say, look, you grow up, take the North Norfolk Railway can't be used as a name anymore because it's got PLC, which it doesn't. It's acting like a company when it isn't, right? Because the volunteers started it, the volunteers should continue running it. We established there has to be a few employees in the building to make sure we all safeguarded and understand where our principles are. But when you look at the North Norfolk Railway today, as a name, they screwed it up, right? So the Northwestern Railway will take over in due course. and we're gonna rename it to get a fresh start. It's like a friend told me, if you want something done, do it correctly. Because the Norfolk Railway Company is gone. Kaput. Kapooey. The management has got really downhill and say, oh, we could do whatever we want. We could get rid of these people. We could do that and all that. No, 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 no. Cut that out. Because I've seen it happen once. I'm not seeing it happen twice. Right? The more people they throw out, the bigger the army I get. Why? They will see that I did not do nothing wrong, nor did Duck, nor did the rest of my steam team. What are they going to do then? Then they will cry wolf on us because they want support. They want help. They want guidance. They would get it from every one of us, and then what will happen is the Norfolk Railway will be dead as hell, and then we'll end up with nothing. And the Norfolk Railway name will be gone. So by the time you realise that, right, what would you say if the North Western Railway name was used? It gives out hope. The hope that people need, not want. Acknowledge of our strengths and weaknesses. Acknowledge about people's disabilities. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. We have to acknowledge the volunteers to a position where they say, right, we're gonna put you there, we're gonna put you there, whatever. Right. If you're good at one thing, stick to what you're good at, not the opposite. So people in the management are gonna get a good kicking, near enough. Right? That management is going downhill. Right? They will eventually realise the Norfolk Railway, as it travels under right now, it's not helping nobody out. It's all it is. It's making people afraid of you. It's making the people afraid of what you're advertising, and even on Facebook, you're trying to plead. You're crying wolf. You're begging for mercy. You do not want that. We empathise that there is a problem that's bigger than what their money's worth. So when they get employed or whatever, big mistake. Just keep away from the premises and acknowledge the railway has to start from beginning. The railway name has to change. The railway has to have a fresh start. The railway has to start from the beginning and work forward. We can't just carry on where 2019 left off because it's all the damage was done. So you've got to pre-prioritize and say the engines are there, all in black and white. Yes, I know every engine that's about to go on that premises. So I'm one step ahead than anybody else right now. Nearly every part of the community knows what's happening on that railway. Right? I know a friend of mine, a private connection in America, stated, you are in charge of that railway, nobody else is. Right? He said in black and white, he said the Norfolk Railway will no longer exist because the Northwestern Railway Company comes first. Why is that? When I made I think it was a few podcasts ago, when I acknowledged about the level crossing and how important that is to the community. Start using it. Don't abuse it, right? I stated that in that podcast, and I want to reflect on that too because I want you to be acknowledged that there will be a big outcome where you will understand everything. It's not about. It's just like people think they've got a cut-off barrier where they can't go onto the other line to go to Knapford and then come return vice versa, left, right, and left, right, left, right. You only have to do it a couple times a day, every day. But at least it gives people an opportunity just to get that connection. I have noticed that the Greater Anglia will not see it that way. All right, we established that. But if you really look at it, the rail permits they use to get over that level crossing is a load of BS. It's extremely saying that line is mostly like a dead donkey, right? So when you look at the Northwestern Railway Company, that what the new name that's going to be travelled under from the Norfolk Railway, it won't be with the PLC. That's for starters. The PLC will go. We're going to start fresh and build it up again. We're going to acknowledge the prices are going to drop a bit. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, we got to keep at least prices this high," and blah blah. I said, "No, it won't be, because we got to look realistically. People like I have really have stated private connections everywhere saying get those prices dropped and acknowledge and understand the value is not about the money. It's the money. It's if it's all about money, this is what the Norfolk Railway is doing wrong. The money is really not the key here. It's respect, honesty, trust, honesty, and respect. Right? Three things. That's all it takes. But you have to be realistic. What if I already seen what's going to unfold? Right? You need to understand my when it comes down to the railway at this moment is not helping you. The community knows that. The whole world knows that. We established that things are unfolding for a good damn reason, right? But there is a prime limit on what the Norfolk Railway can give. Give, right? But they always want to take. When they take things from you or they take money off you or whatever, they got to use their heads. They got to calculate on everything, right? Mileage, distance, travel distance between A and B, or A and B between depending on what station it is, and acknowledge that a lot of people will not pay £24 or £25 just for that short distance, right? So I'm gonna put this in words that you understand. The Norfolk Railway is coming down. The Northwestern Railway is going up. So when that goes up and up, the respect and the trust and the honesty will have to start from the beginning. The Norfolk Railway can't, because that name has been scarred. It's been blacklisted. I know it seems like it's a corny way to say it, but it's the way you banter out. So the one name that everybody knows of, they have to realise, no, that name has been blacklisted. Right? Because the name has lost respect, trust, and honesty. They're not going to get that respect back because that name has been blacklisted. So it's like saying to the management, you grow up or you're out. You know what I mean? You can't, it's like saying breaking the ice and acknowledging them. You have somebody, or like myself, as example, which it will be, I will turn things over and say, look, what's the world that spins so well? But you also have to acknowledge the prime format of that Norfolk Railway. It's got to start fresh. right to the Northwestern Railway Company name, because the name itself gives out not just value of hope, but understanding, prioritizing. It will start a complete fresh. Everything that I've seen on Facebook, Twitter, not my Twitter, obviously, Twitter from the NNR or Google reviews, as I say, people are putting good comments in and overloading the system of the North Norfolk Railway when a lot of people are saying what they wanted to say and acknowledge and understand that a certain race has returned. We have come back. I know it seems like a corny move, but it isn't. Like I said, when the fat controller rises, so does steam. He's not just. It's not just a metaphor of saying steam engines are coming back. Yes, a steam team is returning. So acknowledge that every one of us in the community work it all out like a full circle. The Norfolk Railway name is coming off, right? We have to establish that because that's the last bit we need to work on. You, to start fresh, you need to call it the North Western Railway Company, but not a company, the PLC. Just call it the North Western Railway. That's the name it needs to be travelled under. And it will be fully acknowledged because the North Norfolk Railway will lose its reputation already. It's already done that. They damaged themselves, not me. You can't blame me. You have to look and see how it's people that gave you the respect before 2019 and 16 are the people that you should give respect to, right? The people that now are coming in is the people that are fixing the problem and acknowledging that to change the name, change that, and acknowledge that you're starting from the beginning. You are not going to move forward with the Norfolk Railway name. It doesn't work. To start afresh, use North Western Railway as a name. No PLC, because that just all it does, it makes a confusion and delay. So when you acknowledge that the Norfolk Railway's gone, kaput, right? It may still run a little bit here and there, and people are still willing to pay that amount or pay this amount. But reality is that the Northwestern Railway is now about to take over. Why? Because there is a lot of things that you're not fully aware of yet. A certain race is among you all. We live everywhere. We deal with all of this. So we know what to expect. But in all plain eyesight, you the North Norfolk Railway name is gone. It's history. It's destroyed itself. It exploded, imploded themselves. The name itself hasn't got no meaning to it no more. Right? But the connections around the globe know of all of this. It's acknowledging you to you all, that the only thing that made that North Norfolk Railway possible was the volunteers, but they are gone, right? So, with calling themselves the PLC at the end did not help the situation. The company and the volunteers do not mix, right? Because all they're doing is testing you for your track safety test, your strengths and weaknesses, and then they boot out the people that got no value or no support. But when they booted me out, big mistake. So now they're paying the price. right, of losing the name of the North Norfolk Railway and put North Western Railway because that's the name it's travelling under or going to be taken over from the North Norfolk Railway itself. Because I want people to have a fresh start and build up on that. So when people appreciate the railway for what it was, I I know where you're all coming from on that angle. As a community as a whole, you know that the North Norfolk Railway will not stand on its 2 feet no more. It's history. It's gone. It's kaput. Right? The management are the next ones to go. Why? Bad management makes a bad railway. You never see this coming? Watch out. I'm there to recorrect the problem, recorrect the mistake, give it a new name, give the employees a good starting point. The volunteers will be included because there won't be no PLC on the Northwestern Railway. Yeah? You get my point? So when the Northwestern Railway rises, it will bring back the 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 actual basically it will bring that positive reviews, no more negativity, no negativity around it. Right? I never thought it'd be the day where I'll be recorrecting everything. Right? When the North Norfolk Railway, as it stands right now, gone. History. Kaput. It's not about the value of money around it. Right? It's the actual understanding the distance, the mileage, the stations, they're all going to be Northwestern Railway. Full period, full whack. Which gives out the hope the people need, the respect, the trust, and the honesty comes in with it. Right? Everybody that works for the North Norfolk Railway are going to go bye bye. Because I will not don't want people to be disrespected when they get the reboot. Because the North Western Railway Company comes first. Because in the day, when you look at the North Western Railway Company, you got your fat controller, ding ding, but where is he if he's not on a platform? That tells you the Norfolk Railway had its chance to recorrect problems. It had 5 years. Did they sort anything out? No. So they screwed themselves up. The name has been tarnished. The former employees and volunteers don't not know whether they were coming or going. Then I said, right, I'm in. Recorrect that problem. You want this bucket to be unloaded? Well, you unloaded it, but I just filled you up with a big scenario that you can't change. It. So the Northwestern Railway, as it's called, the Northwestern Railway, will take over where the North Norfolk Railway left off with a fresh start. We build up on that principles and build it up. If my ancestors were around today, they will be, god damn, they will be happy with me right now. Right happy with me. To establish that I'm putting my foot down on it. I don't want you to think this is negative. This is positive. So when you got the Norfolk Railway being saying, "Oh, we could do it this price, we could do it that price," la la la, going down the left, right, and centre, I said, "It's not about that. It's acknowledging how they get treated on that platform." I know people been coming off the platform and they had bad experiences, bad job as they do their job. They may have bad experiences in the job or a customer service or being a customer and trying to acknowledge that and I want the customers and the community to understand that the Northwestern Railway, as we call it, will start to bloom. I'm setting it to bloom. When I mean bloom, it's ready to blossom. So when you say the North Norfolk Railway goes bye bye, we're going to change the name to Northwestern Railway because the PLC's got nothing. But if you call it the Northwestern Railway, you're guaranteed to have volunteers and staff. And you will have to start at the bottom again and start fresh. The people that are doing all the websites at the moment, which is where I catch them all out, they'd be fired as well. And we're going to start fresh. Build it up, go up. But the prices will be acknowledged on the website. If you do not, then you're fired because the prices are important. We're going to establish it as one whole category, right? Because when people say book now and all of that, we understand that, right? We're going to try to get the whole community to like the new setup. The new setup will be the North Norfolk Railway will be turning into the Northwestern Railway, right? And it will have a start fresh with myself and the volunteers and the employees. And as the time progresses, they will learn, they will adapt, they'll be more honest, trustworthy, kind, and respectful. They will do what is needed. And we also gonna have to accomplish that a lot of this North Norfolk Railway, as we call it, has been known since the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s, right up to 2019. That name has no meaning anymore because that respect has been taken away from the community. So the community was watching you all for every move we done. So by reading the books and understanding everything, it unfolds naturally. So now we're getting a new fresh, a new starting point, and saying we're going to call it the Northwestern Railway and start from the very beginning and go forward. And we're going to work together. No more pairing off. We're going to be working as a team. No more disrespect. We're going to be honest with each other, understand what is the need, and what we're going to improve on that need as well as the wants, right? And establish how to improve on the railway system by giving it a new name, a new setup, and a new startup. Because there's no there's no way turning back the clock. And acknowledge that all my contacts are ready at my disposal. So if you think you're gonna slip up and make a mistake, a simple one, if you will, that's easy to clear up, right? People want respect. People want honesty. They want trust and respect. They want it all. But you have to realise North Norfolk Railway is dying. It's not gonna live. It's not gonna be a station for much longer. Or the title, it's not gonna mean anything to no one because that disrespect, even if it was on my shoulders when the time was right, I have to establish the Northwestern Railway, as it would have been called anyway. It's gonna start with that name. It's gonna have myself and the employees, and then the volunteers. There won't be no PLC because it's not a company. It's saying we're taking it back to its roots and reboot it. So when people reboot it and start building it all up again, I don't want to see any disrespect. If there's any little problems at time, we can hack it. we can respect that and make it a little bit more honesty as well as it's kind and caring and respectful. We're not going to push it like the Diesel team did when they pushed us all out and kick us all out and swear at us and curse at us. None of that. That would be gone, right? Because we're going to start fresh. The Norfolk Railway name is gone. The PLC is gone because the actual outcome of that railway, you got to start fresh. To do that, we're changing the name. By doing that, it gives everybody a best start. Same locations, just different name. To get that going and start fresh. Build it up, build it up, build it up, build it up. People, a lot of people in my position will understand that there is a principle of balancing out the things we need, not want. We know that a lot of things could have been improved if the Norfolk Railway corrected their problems to begin with. They haven't corrected it, they made a big boo boo over it. So, by doing that, the Norfolk Railway's gone. There is no chance of redemption, as they call it. So, by changing the name to North Western Railway, it establishes that new setup, new beginning, new everything. If the Norfolk Railway wants to fight on this, be prepared to take the heat. If you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen, as they say. But in a layman terms, I'm not going to be there every day of the week to try and sort this problem out. But I'm giving people a good starting point, right? So we take away the Norfolk Railway name because it's already got a bad reputation, bad mistake. We clear it out, right? We replace it with the North Western Railway. Why? Because it's not a company; it's actual railway name, and that's the reason why the Norfolk Railway failed because they put the PLC at the end, which destroyed the actual foundation that they started with. So, when my grandfather was still alive and watching your actions, the consequences came along with it. Bang. Same scenario, same problem, same mistakes. And now we got to correct that and say, look, my grandson, he knew everything that's going to unfold now. He doesn't need to be alive and well to see it all through. He acknowledges that I'm going to recorrect this and call it the North Western Railway. That's what it's going to be called. Why is that? The answer's staring at you, right? So if you really look at it, the North Western Railway is what it's called. Not at this moment because the Norfolk Railway has to stop what they're doing, drop the act, and then reboot it. We're gonna start it from the beginning with a new, give it that name instead of Norfolk Railway PLC. We don't want PLC because that just makes that look bad and sad. People have been giving it negative impact and all of that. I said it's about time we make a fresh start, a fresh starting boot up, and give people what they need. Not their, not just their physically their wants, but to acknowledge that the North Western Railway Company, Railway itself, is what the name is called, the North Western Railway, and it's a name that has been given because the fact is on the going forward. The Norfolk Railway has failed because they abused the system. The management can't do nothing now. They lost their rights. They lost their name. They lost their money. They lost. They haven't lost the engines because the engines are part of another thing, but I'm really trying to say no. We've got to boot out the booth and then start fresh because we need to get. You're gonna earn people's respect the hard way round. A lot of people would say there's going to be a slight improvement, yes, but not in the way you expect it. I've got connections, people, places that can say, look, we can support this. Yes, we will support that because of me acknowledging that you're turning a negative into a positive. And while that positive is there, they're going to ask a lot of questions, right? Right? A lot of people will say, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I would just say, the answer's already there. Have you ever realised that we've been on here around the UK for a very long time? I said there's a reason for it. But I'm not going to go down that merry road. But the North Western Railway is going to start. And the North Norfolk Railway will fail. And I'll just, you, as a community, you've got to help me make it fail. So you've got to have that, but to get the positive, you've got to get rid of the negative. It's not about them driving those trains backwards and forth. It's the understanding what you're getting is not what you're getting. It's the trust, honesty, and respect. It's the name, the North Norfolk Railway name. When you start fresh, you start from one thing to the other and get it transferred. It's like you're changing. What will happen is there will be a new website coming up with the North Western Railway, right? It will have the same, mostly the same details as what the North Norfolk Railway PLC are offering you, with a few tweaks, right? Yes, I don't like the design of it. I'll be honest on that one. The website is badly designed. It doesn't always give out the needs and not the want. Mostly what they see, the better the design, the better they get, right? No, they lost the respect, right? They lost the trust and honesty from the public. The public already knew what you were up to, right? So don't say, oh, we are the best railway and all of that. The North Norfolk Railway's gone. You have to start a complete fresh with a new name, which I've just given you, the North Western Railway, as it's called. No PLC, right? Big mistake on the North Norfolk Railway's part when they booted out us all in 2019 when they shouldn't done. So by establishing that this is what we need to do to recorrect the matter of it all, the community has to partly agree with that because obviously the community that agrees with the North Norfolk Railway will end up failing because they don't realise the needs is what people need, right? By calling it the North Western Railway, with the volunteers and the employees, bank, and the new management on top, right? You're starting fresh. You're starting from the beginning. You're starting with the new principles of helping people out, not booting them out, not giving them the disrespect. This is why the North Norfolk Railway name itself is is coming off. The website will be coming off. The Facebook pages will be coming off. Why? Because we are monitoring it. Why? We acknowledge the Northwestern Railway Company is starting to build up respect, trust, and honesty. Right at this moment, And we're going to acknowledge that because that's the one good thing that's come out of it, right? So we have to establish that the Norfolk Railway, the name itself, the PLC for it as well, gone, kaput. I want that because it's all to do with connections. It's all about people, certain people I know of, anyway. They won't come out quietly anyway. And realize there's when you start fresh, you don't want that baggage at the bottom pulling you back. So if my if I am calculating it correctly, call it the Northwestern Railway Company Railway, as it's called, the Northwestern Railway. That's the name you're going to be given. Why? Because you want to move forward from the problems that you had in the past. So you're throwing away the baggage of the Norfolk Railway, you're destroying everything about it, but you're not. All you're doing is changing the name and resetting the reviews, the Facebook reviews, the the TripAdvisor reviews, all of it. Why? Because you've got a circling race living in Norfolk and Scotland and Wales. We speak a, a language that is very beyond your comprehensions. But the fact is, when people see that, then stage two will come along, right? Then say for instance now we've got the Northwestern Railway started up, right? Things will get clearer, right? So we're starting at the bottom, we're getting new employees, and then we work around with the volunteers, right? We don't discriminate. It doesn't matter if you're black or white or coloured skin, whatever. We're gonna acknowledge that you will have to understand everything that's unfolded and realize, okay, he means business, you lot don't. It's like saying to the North Norfolk Railway, you're gone, dead, history, bye bye. But it's not the place, it's the actual name and the people that are running it, running to the ground. So let them do what they want to do at this moment. But then you might say, okay, the Northwestern Railway Company's better. Because I'm saying we're starting from the bottom and work our way up. We're going to gain that respect back because we need to build a new tree. Say, for instance, that the North Norfolk Railway's tree is too old, right? We take it down. We chop it down in half, knock it all out, right? And it won't grow anymore, right? It's acknowledging to you restarting a new one from fresh. We're building up from fresh. So you've got the Northwestern Railway and the North Norfolk Railway no longer exists because they destroyed it. So when you destroy something, right, and then rebuilding as a new entity, then you're gonna have to start rebuilding that route from the bottom up. You're calling it the Northwestern Railway. The website will be called that, and a few changes, of course. And then you've got Facebook that's related to it. Ding ding, obviously. And then this is where the big changer will come in, right? Cromer, West London, Sheringham, Weybourne, right? Are all gonna have circular names. Plus, what will also impact it all a little bit is that when you put your dots together, it will add up nicely, right? Equals, right? Then people are going to ask the question, what's going to happen with Cromer, West London, and all that? They will have circular names as well, right? And then what will happen is the management will have to come to a super agreement and say, okay, you want to start fresh, build it up, gain people's respect. and trust and honesty goes with it as well. And you're gonna rebuild a new website with the North Western Railway Company with all the same, basically with the same details of the locations, obviously, but you're gonna extend it a bit, right? Because the whole railway companies that we are dealing with, right, may disagree at first, then a lot of things will add up, right? Why they will ask the big question, they will ask, why is the North Norfolk Railway changing the name? To gain people's respect back into from the community into employees and volunteers and establish that connection that was once taken away from you. So you're basically creating a new tree and starting from fresh because you do not want that baggage under the radar, right? I acknowledge that, and so do the connections and the community will totally agree with me on this and realise he's right. You can't ignore it. He's straight to the point. He's honest. He's not bullshitting. It's all there in black and white. So when people think I've got connections, I have in every continent around the globe. So when you think of the North Norfolk Railway all ready to be going bye bye, right? All they care about, what regardless, it's not about the society or a circle or whatever, is acknowledging that the North Western Railway Company has just been re-established. But because we're in the modern day era, we have to start from fresh. Start from the beginning and work our way up. So when you reboot, which when I will do is reboot it, the North Western Railway Company will take over where the North Norfolk Railway not completely left off, right? It will eventually say to the North Norfolk Railway, you're gone. Because when you got PLC and it's classified as a company, that's what slowed them down, pulled them down. The confidence of people going down, the employees, the volunteers, the fullback, everybody that respected the railway then before 2019, right? And all that disrespect. The North Norfolk Railway will no longer come back because it's a tree that's been cut down. So you got to start fresh with the North Western Railway, as it's going to be called, and it's going to start from the bottom up. I will be monitoring it on a big scale from let's say 100 out of 100. So I'll be watching. So when the North Norfolk Railway is failing, they're going to ask me to reboot it to get the respect back and the trust and the honesty through the public. But at this moment, the North Norfolk Railway is still standing. I can't do nothing until they go to the bottom. So the North Norfolk Railway PLC continues of doing what they're doing. That will be wiped out and that goes straight into the North Western Railway. Why? Because I am then will coordinate and say you're welcome here anytime, any place. The prices will start off at £5 to £10, 5 to £10 for an adult, and then it will also for the children. It may be about a fiver again or to a tenner again. Keep them at the same price near enough, but it will double up when it adds up. And I'm going to end up saying, I know there's things that are going up, down through the electric and water, food, everything else, but you will make more of a value of money on the food and the travel itself, not the platform ticket. That's what's pulling the North Norfolk Railway down. They don't care about what is unfolding or whatever. They don't know what's coming or going at the moment. So as long as I'm seeing it unfold naturally, the North Western Railway Company is about to get a lot of respect because there's more southern race people that know what's going on. We have eyes and ears everywhere. So by acknowledging it, it gives people a little bit of understanding. And I just hope, for the sake of argument, nobody probably there are probably some people that are willing to move forward, but they can't move forward while the North Norfolk Railway's got that bad reputation on themselves. So when you think of the North Norfolk Railway against the North Western Railway Company, railway services like I call it, the North Western Railway are cheaper. We don't go above our prices. If we make the prices too high, then the price isn't right. The price has to be right to get things going again. But you also have to acknowledge online or offline or in a leaflet or whatever, the North Norfolk Railway's lost it all. Right? So we're going to take away the North Norfolk Railway's baggage and throw it in the fire. Right? Because they lost respect and honesty and trust. So now the North Western Railway Company will surely come forward. And it will be a new bulb, a new tree planting, and we will start from the beginning, build up the honesty, trust, and respect, and get the volunteers back in and the staff and keep it growing. Each time we have this scenario or we had this problem before, my grandfather had to do the same thing. But because it's been a long time, 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, right up to 2024, you're starting to realise what went wrong, what went right, what could have been kept the way it was, and what could have improved here and there. You never know with the management could have messed everybody up from without you knowing, and it's just acknowledging it to make sure no, we're gonna start fresh. Because if we start fresh, everything can start fresh. If you start if you let the North Norfolk Railway continue, all you're doing is running yourself down. So when I establish one thing can save it all and acknowledge it all. So when you look and realistically think, why I have all these connections, a lot could be learnt. A mistake that could have been fixed in 2019 or now, even now, could have been could be sorted, could be fixed, could be acknowledged. I don't want people to send letters out to people saying this is what what I mean, with their private information, blah blah blah, going down the line. If you got a problem, it's a word to express it if people were saying it to you. Say it to my face. Because that's one way of putting it. If you got a problem, always use the office. Don't do it publicly because it will humiliate everything. It, it will humiliate anybody that's in that position, alright? So, by respecting people's boundaries, how to solve a problem without getting them booted, fired, or anything. A little problem could have been solved. And I'm acknowledging that. This is why we say we start fresh. We're not going to let you. It's the North Norfolk Railway that's gone. The North Western Railway is taking over. Because the way the thing is saying restarting fresh. Restarting to look forward to the future rather than look back. If we have that baggage all the time, all you're getting is like positive and negative impact, and then I will find out exactly what is a need, what is a want, and everything else, and establish what the volunteers' needs are and strengths and weaknesses are, plus the employees. But we all have to do a track safety test, and it's acknowledging that to able to start, reboot it. Don't call yourselves the North Norfolk Railway, because the North Norfolk Railway is basically now lost its rights. It's lost its game, it's lost its respect, it's lost its honesty and trust, and that's gone. You can't replace the North Norfolk Railway in general because you can't. You see, the North Norfolk Railway has to start realising they're lost. The management's lost. That's gone. So by acknowledging why I've got contacts on the inside as well as on the outside, I know what's going on. This is not about money making. It's about acknowledging what people's needs are, not just wants and strengths and weaknesses while they want to help you out as a volunteer or an employee. They have every right available. So by acknowledging, doesn't matter if you've got disabilities or not. If you like to work in a buffet, for example, you work in a buffet. Simple as. I'm not going to push you where you don't want to go. Right? I'm establishing that if you like working in the office and dealing with the computer work and all of that, I will put you there straight off. Right? So I know what can be done to fix this is to reset the whole lot up. And it's not pleasant for the North Norfolk Railway because they lose everything. The name, the copyright, everything what they own will be bye bye. The North Western Railway is on standby with all the steam team and volunteers and the employees, all of it. Why? Just acknowledge that the North Norfolk Railway is failing. They've got nothing to land on. All they got is their big bucket with all the holes in it. Think of it like a water with all their baggage in it. And you will end up looking at it and realizing it's all facts and truth. It's one thing you have to realize from being when the place was positive, it was. I'm not saying it was fully bad at all, but the people we know or you used to know no longer work there, and they are trashing it and trashing it, trashing it. Let the North Norfolk Railway go downhill before the North Western Railway name can be used. Everything will be resetted, and it will also be a new website, a new everything. It will start from where it will be, right? So we know we got our volunteers and the employees as well. You just got to acknowledge North Norfolk Railway do can't do much now. They basically got themselves in a big bag of problems. You need to start fresh, work forward. But to do that, you've got to get rid of that baggage first. It's like saying the North Norfolk Railway can't go forward like the North Western Railway can. The North Western Railway Company is basically a starting fresh point. So we need to start fresh. It's something a lot of people would say where it begins, it never ends. So even if it began as the North Norfolk Railway, the respect for that railway is gone because the actual problem that occurred in 2019 couldn't be corrected because the whole thing broke apart. Right? So we are starting fresh with the North Western Railway and then with the volunteers and the employees. We're not gonna, we're not gonna what you call discriminate or anything like that. We're gonna put you in places where you like to work and acknowledge that you can work side by side, no conflicts, no, and then. But if you've got any problems, private problems, don't bring them to work. If you know, like I like I said, I had friends and connections on the inside of that building that the North Norfolk Railway weren't aware of. So when you think the North Western Railway could be a new starting point, and with that being put in place, the North Norfolk Railway is gone. It's history. You can't fix it. You can't fix the problem. You're gonna have to start completely fresh, right? It's acknowledging. I'm I'm also acknowledging that if it wasn't for certain two railway companies, as we all know it, it's the Middle and Great Northern Joint Railway and the Great Eastern, we would never had the NWR, the North Western Railway. So the North Western Railway does exist. It's just not as big as it used to be. So when you think of the North Norfolk Railway wants this and this and this and this and this, they're just filling themselves with big baggage. So by making it simpler and say, look, we're going to have set prices cheaper to get people back in, not the opposite direction. If we did the same problem as the North Norfolk Railway did, it will just ruin our reputation, and we're not going to have that. So we're going to acknowledge to the community and the public that this is what our goals are to set out in stone. But we also have to acknowledge that whatever's happened in the past is one North Norfolk Railway's big problem. They got a big problem they can't solve because they can't correct the problem. If they can't correct the problem, it's because they're making it wise. The more problems they have, which they have, I'm acknowledging what they got now is saying to them, we are on standby. We're not going to take any more BS from the North Norfolk Railway. Don't employ, at this moment, do not employ any job from them. If they ask you to employ for a job or volunteer up there at the moment, don't do it. Because all you're doing is getting in the same mess as they got into. The North Western Railway is on standby. All you have to realise is that you have to get rid of one to get the other one booted up. If we could get rid of this baggage, as we like to call it, it gets a fresh start, a fresh perspective, and the Northwestern Railway, as a name, won't be called PLC because we're acknowledging it to be a separate entity. So when this unfolds properly to its full degree, people will get the respect they need, the trust and honesty, and the volunteers and the employees, and we will work as a family rather than the actual coordination of saying, "Oh, I'm keeping my mouth shut all the time and I'm just getting on with my job or whatever." This is what the North Norfolk Railway's doing, right? They say, "Oh, there you go, la la la." We ban whoever we want, right? When it comes to our company, we don't ban anyone, right? All we have to do is sort the problem on site and say, okay, you have a little slip up here and there. We're going to acknowledge to you that we will help you as as much as we can and acknowledge that we got this problem, but we got this simple problem. that will not escalate to a bigger problem than what the North Norfolk Railway's done. So that's what I'm trying to establish. We're trying to get rid of them and reboot the sequence so you're able to get a better value of money, understanding, trust, honesty, and respect. You can't have the North Norfolk Railway once. When they got what they want, that's it. They don't give a damn about everything else. So when I say we're gonna change the name, get it rebooted, resetted, we're gonna start from the bottom up and work our way up. We're gonna gain people's respect and honesty and trust and respect on top. We're not gonna throw probably anyone out, but we're gonna kick out the management and acknowledge that in the day you can't just let them be at the baggage at the bottom and say, "Oh, we can do whatever we want," blah blah blah, routine. It's what they're after in the end. They want a fight. They want an argument. They want all of that so they can make it a big hoo-ha. I'm not interested in that. No, Diplo- diplomatic solution can adapt everything, but the North Norfolk Railways are not going to willing to do that. So they're going to establish themselves as that like they are gone. So each day is a special day for all of us. But a lot of people don't realise how it operates to work out why is the Northwestern Railway Company or Railway name coming in. And I will just say to you all, that's a name we should have been travelled under. Why? Because hope is the key word. Hope for not just for the volunteers and the employees. It's hope for me, hope for you, hope for understanding, trust, and respect, and acknowledge private life stays outside the premises. But if you are colleagues, best friends in work and outside work, I know it, I can understand from this experience that if you can't always meet during the evening or during the day or whatever, you always have the opportunity to get that meeting point. I don't mind having a little conversation here and there, or any problems there and there. We've got no problems here and there. So we're acknowledging that if you're not able to communicate, it's what you call a lack of communication, right? I'm going to establish that there is a time and a place for it, right? I will establish that you could probably talk at lunchtime, tea time, or first thing in the morning before the customers come in, and acknowledge the fact that you have good places to talk about what you do during the day, or you need help with, or you understand this and you understand that. I am trying to take the weight of the North Norfolk Railway gone, right? I can't bear that weight if they've been disrespectful, demeanor, everything else, which you all hate as well, and the community understands that to this full high degree and realise nothing is perfect, but understand where my connections are and my private connections and everybody around me that knows me really well by now should understand I will try to accommodate people's needs rather than wants. So when people say, "Why are you changing that North Norfolk Railway name into the Northwestern Railway name?" But I will just give you a simple answer. The North Norfolk Railway is giving out bad reputation. They can't build, they can't continue or progress or resolve all the problems because they won't. They just sweep it under the carpet until they know that they can't go forward. They can't go further. Why? Because I am trying to reboot it or reset it and say, look, take that baggage away. By doing that and resetting yourselves, at least we could come to a common agreement where things can unfold naturally again with a bit of a fix, a little bit of a setup, and say, look, you want this or you need what you had before or whatever. Don't I will say don't go down that route because what we're doing is changing the route slightly and acknowledge that the Northwestern Railway is what it is. Right? A lot of people may not see it that way straight away because they're trying to acknowledge what they have up, up, is absorbing right now. So by doing what is needed, the first things first is to establish that the North Norfolk Railway can't be repaired. It's like having an engine that needs fixing, and then you can't fix that engine because that engine can't be established for what it is, right? And establish the connection. Why is this? Why is that? And establish that the fine moment in time. Everybody knows of me full head on, but there are people like the North Norfolk Railway don't give a damn wherever you go or not. But the thing is, the community is one step ahead. So they will pick up on things that they should realize and thought, oh sugar, shit, they are, you know what I mean? So I see the events unfold naturally as much as everybody else does. But when we have a new beginning, it's like the never ending story. You see? When we think about that movie as a title, even that, I said it's like the never ending story, you know? And when people think that your the story is not ended, it is never ended because it's a never ending story. So by acknowledging to you that the North Norfolk Railway will not longer exist, and that's the full whack truth. It will no longer exist because the reputation has gone downhill. So that I've got a new bulb ready for you lot. And all I have to do is bring in the right people in, establish the connections, and establish the employees, the volunteers, but the management will be myself and a few more others. All I have to do is get the North Norfolk Railway to wait to its failing point. They nearly failed anyway, right? They can't work out why. Just ask yourself the question. It's a big question, but it's a one big answer involved. You know, if you continue it to be the North Norfolk Railway, you're gonna have problems in the future. You need to change the name, and we understand. Don't call it the PLC on the end because it won't work. You're gonna have to start fresh from the beginning. It's like having a new tree planted from the beginning, right? It's like a song that I hear so much of, right? I know you know Celine Dion and Bee Gees, right? What song am I thinking of? And the answer is immortality, right? That song describes me quite well. And when you really have got the real life back control in front of you, which you have, you now got to ask yourself, if I'm here, that means the Northwestern Railway is also included in the package. So if you think the North Norfolk Railway is not just a normal railway, it isn't. All am I doing? I'm not ripping up track or dismantling anything. I'm just saying the North Norfolk Railway is going bye bye. The North Western Railway coming in. You have to escalate yourself to realise the North Norfolk Railway are asking for a lot of wants, right? Their needs, right? They don't care about your needs, they care about theirs. And that's the thing about the Blue Jar. I said to get their needs, they have to realise what needs balancing here. But it's like where a Libra balances out everything. You have to prioritise something that a lot of management do lack of. It's in prioritising, understanding the route's length. Obviously, is number one. The level crossing, number two, and the extra bit of track they could use. But that's the main point of saying, let's start fresh. Start fresh as you get going. But you can't call yourself the North Norfolk Railway. That's the outcall course. So if you call yourself the North Western Railway, I can jump in and help you out, all of you out, and establish the point and question it. I will ask many questions, right? You may want answers for. But it's not an online base. It's actually face-to-face contact, which enables a lot of people say, "I'm giving you an opportunity to reboot." Right? If you stay for what you are, you're basically condemning yourselves to doom because you're not correcting anything. You're not realizing, yes, I have my own strengths and weaknesses, and you did not realize what's coming your way. I tried to establish that people want respect, trust, and honesty, right? But they're not going to get that, are they? From the North Norfolk Railway. All they care about is money. And when the money is all there in black and white for everybody else to see or whatever, they just said, look, when people come back to me, I understand what your needs are and their needs. When it comes down to the wants, this is where it throws everybody off. I said, there's going to be a problem at the North Norfolk Railway Department of it all. They don't give a damn at the moment. They don't give a. All they can see is that we are running the railway, we're running the railway, and that's it. Right? They don't see that the North Western Railway is on standby. Why? Because we're waiting for the result that the North Norfolk Railway can't provide them. So when you look realistically as a businessman, if you want me to be a businessman, I'm a businessman and I can be honest with you. What would you want the railway to do for you? If we, right, I'm giving you a biggest option in front of you. Reset everything. Go forward and start fresh. The North Norfolk Railway, as a name now, is classified as a blacklisted name. And when you're dealing with a blacklisted name, it is so blacklisted you can't determine where what can we do if we can't move forward from where the previous generation got all of this mouthing, if you will, and they did not do nothing wrong. You're all hiding it for because you feel guilty, feel like you think you got it on a silver platter. No, I worked it all the way out for you, right? I established that the North, if you really want a compromise on things that that you really need and not want, you've got to accept what the customer's needs are. It's not about the money factor. So when the North Western Railway Company comes in, right, we're gonna have cheaper prices than what you're already asking for because it's been established to put things right, to get things moving, to get everything in go. I don't want to feel like I'm being pressurized to do what needs to be done, but it needs to be done because obviously I've been trained in a certain way where I understand what people's needs are and how it will work out. But people need to realise that NNR is gone. The NWR takes its place. So you're starting a fresh bulb, a new tree, and building up respect and honesty and trust. It's going to take all those old problems away. Everything that you think the management by now would have had a clear head to clear everything up, but they didn't. They left it under the rug. So that's why their pile was still up. So when you got all that pile all up, where the Northwestern Railway name is ready to be used with a new fresh startup. And I would not BS and I would not do anything to harm anyone. It's a shame that people go to arms and length to spoil it. Like I said, one bad egg affects all. So when you think of all your team and all the support or whatever, or all the management, even that, one egg affects all. Right? I established that there is a way to go forward without having that baggage on you. But the Northwestern Railway name can be used because the Norfolk Railway cannot. Because the more you use that name, you're pushing yourselves down and down and down. And people will not realise, don't boot everybody out. You gotta admit that you did wrong. You know you are in the wrong. You gotta recorrect the problem, or you can start fresh and reboot it and say, right, we gotta have to clear the deck. It's like saying, I put the new bulb in for you to realise you're gonna go forward. Right? I don't want the Norfolk Railway name there. I want that gone, kaput, because we want to start fresh. So every year, right, from 2024, I need you to move forward with the North Western Railway name, not the Norfolk Railway, because you're not gaining anything and the prices are so enormously high. People got really PO'd, right? So people are not going to be just go back on the railway just because you say, "Oh, we offer this for that price." Don't make a late. Don't advertise what you can't do, right? If people are gonna push their buttons, this is where the community is starting to see the light. They're not gonna go back and to you because they see me as the guiding light. They see you as the darkness that I've got to defeat. So by asking yourself, light is a power of goodness. Darkness will always make the wrong choices, wrong mistakes, everything. But people have realized that and taught me that and said, look, a friend of mine, a private connection, said, it's not your fault, sir. That's it. You were a lot of the Norfolk Railway's problems are basically very simple, just to make it even cut down short. It's that there's a foundation they cannot destroy. Something they cannot destroy because it's not in their naked eye. Right? I'm not there as a destroyer. I'm there to guide them, help them. bring them back into the light, make them see the errors of their ways, see the mistakes they had made, the even the error of the mistakes they made while solving problems. Then look, the the diesel team or the people that are running it now don't know how to handle problems. They don't know how to solve them. They don't know how to get that baggage back into zero, to go back up again. They got to acknowledge that the thing will always be the baggage because they got to let go of the past a little bit and let go of what they got. When they establish themselves to think they are all perfect all the time, no, they have to start fresh. And I'm giving them the way forward and say, look, we're going to start fresh as the Northwestern Railway. No PLC, because that gives people the wrong perspective of what you want. Not even LTD won't be acceptable anymore. What we have to establish is that the Northwestern Railway is basically a mutual agreement to make it go forward in and forward. I need something, or you need something. There's a need for the North Norfolk Railway staff to realise this and wake up and smell a coffee. If you don't, you're going to end up with this problem which abominates the world, right? I said, start fresh, work your way up. The North Norfolk Railway, as a name now, is not a name to be travelling under right now. You got something. A lot of people may hear this phrase from what I know. I know people from high places, right? Even private connections. They said, "What's the world that spins so well?" So work it out. If I'm here on standby, what's the world that spins so well? A lot of people might think it's water, but it isn't. And when you acknowledge that you've got this major problem, the North Norfolk Railway won't do anything for the community besides getting what they want. Right? When you acknowledge the community's needs and understanding, then they could have changed it instantly by 2019, 2020, and that. But they had a bad reputation going down the line. So I'm now saying to you that there's an option way out to start fresh with a new perspective, a new understanding, a new way of not the new way directly, but a new way of thinking, understanding from really well understanding corporation. Obviously, you have that capacity to try and say, look, the North Norfolk Railway isn't the railway track or its stations, it's the name that was given since the 70s, 80s, and the 90s, right up to 2019. Everything was all right up to then. Everybody then got screwed up. So now I'm coming in and saying, look, let's change the name. Get the people to realise I'm jumping in to go and help you out, right? There are a lot of strengths and weaknesses in the North Norfolk Railway as it is into my company. My company will never discriminate, and well, my company in general, organisation, whatever you want to call it, we call it the Northwestern Railway as a main title. It won't be PLC or anything else, or LTD or anything like that. We're gonna make it aware. We're gonna make it compatible with everything else. We're gonna acknowledge that there's more. But if people are gonna continue ignoring, remember, but I think a lot of the community is aware that what I am trying to achieve is to get rid of the North Norfolk Railway name itself and replace it with the North Western Railway, and then able it to go forward with the starting fresh point. Because all that bad problem that we had in 2019 did not help anyone. And it's acknowledging to people and the community and everything, things have to move forward with a fresh start. You can't move forward when you've got baggage on your back. It's like a baggage that will turn everything upside down a bit, right? A lot of people will say, right, okay, let's just take it for example. If the North Norfolk Railway don't want to back down, then they're just building more problems behind their backs, not even solve any one of them properly. Not by the book, not by the red tape, not by the everything that's unfolding, right? So by acknowledging that, they build up a biggest bag in the history. People will not go to the North Norfolk Railway because it's now being cut, 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 cut. It's not about that. Prices have gone up, 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 up. Right? I'm gonna say no. Let's start fresh because I can't work with a company that's basically got a bad attitude, bad response. Don't look at it properly. Don't think straight. People that really do. I know a lot of people may not drink alcohol during after work, right? They might drink a glass of orange juice as example, or a diet coke, something simplified, or drink tea during the day, right? You see, when people think straight, they're ending up getting a clear head, right? A lot of people would say, right, he is trying. I know what's going through everybody's head to realise this. Is he trying to take over the North Norfolk Railway? I said, look, it's not even a fit to be called that name. It's bad reputation gone into that on top of the good stuff that we already achieved to begin with. I'm not ignoring the good stuff that came from it, but I'm trying to separate that to get you a clean slate. So by doing that, I'm taking the good stuff away from the bad stuff. So you're able to start it up again as a new, name for yourself. But this time, you got myself and the rest of some of the management team to say, look, we could work together, or you could scrap the whole bloody railway, which I don't want to do, right? That's the North Norfolk Railway I'm trying to say as a whole, because the name itself has already given itself a bad name. And when you think about it and work backwards and look forward and start fresh from the bottom up, I'm taking all the good stuff, put it underneath me. Why? You see, without the North Norfolk Railway, I know you're going to say this is the fifth. It has to work both ways. The North Norfolk Railway did have a good time. A good budget system, a good price range, a good perspective. People did not complain as much, or say this is a bad coffee, or this has had bad food or water, or acknowledge that we got this, we got that. Yep, we did not charge. The North Norfolk Railway at that time did not charge a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, and it made it reasonable for the distance, not just about the locomotives or the carriages. But this is where the problem lies. And when they start to have problems during the later years in the 2000s and the 2016 and all of that, right? People told me in the day that you have to earn that respect. And that's why it's all backfired on the North Norfolk Railway because they lost it. They're not going to regain it now because they lost it. Like the name itself gives them a bad taste in their mouths. So when you think that I've been a little bit upbeat and everything else. I said I've got connections everywhere. Without you realising that it's all there in black and white. You know, when people look and feel like have you gained anything from this? Or have you achieved something from this? What's your experience like? Not many people will tell you about it because it's all because they kept it all hidden. So in the layman terms, the North Norfolk Railway has basically got nothing else to stand on, while I took the good stuff away from them. So work it out. What's the good stuff that are they missing? I think the answer describes right on my suit. Right? We have to establish that two wrongs don't make a right. We understand that. But starting fresh helps the community. Right? We have to start realizing people's conversations on me right now, even the people's understanding. I understand every word that's coming out around the globe, even the United Kingdom, the United States, Australia, Europe, all of them. They all say how bad the railways got, right? But we have to be realistic on the principles of understanding we can't be no longer the North Norfolk Railway because that name has been abused. So what do? You change it to the North Western Railway, which has a clean slate, a clean name, and then the prices could be dropped. Initially, I know it feels corny to begin with, but when you drop those prices, right, it's not about a day rover or whatever they ask you for, whatever. It's acknowledging that people won't accept the price that you're asking for. A lot of people say, what are you gaining from keeping from what they already are to upbeat the Ford? You can't upbeat the Ford as such, but the Northwestern Railway name could because it's starting fresh from the beginning. And we've been that company for a very long time. People did not realise. Oh, they didn't realise the North Norfolk Railway was actually called the Northwestern Railway Company. Or no PLC in this or LTD in this. They realised that the Northwestern Railway is not just a normal thing for adults and children alike, because like I said, it's all to do with ancestors and our families, our backgrounds, and everything else. I said there's more than you meets the eye, right? And we established that, but we also acknowledging the fact is that the the proof is in the pudding, as the full stern of it. But the thing is, what you're acknowledging now, I'm trying to make you avoid to go to the North Norfolk Railway. It's not the best place at the moment. The name is shameful, but are taking the good part away from what they are doing. Because the good stuff stays with me and my family, and plus their families and their descendants. But the good part is with us. We establish that because we're making sure that we continue the good stuff, not the bad stuff. The bad stuff is continuing because it's 2019 and it's going on up the ladder. And they will realize that the prices are too high, the food prices, drink prices could be high enough or a little bit high, you know what I mean? But when you add it up, equalize it at the end of the day or week or month or day or every day you do it, think about it. You know, no one hasn't done nothing wrong. It's just establishing that the community will not go on it. And I'm just trying to make a valid point. I know there are people that are willing that the thing is the volunteers and the staff don't know where they're coming or going. So other connections that I have from the inside the building, outside the building, they all coordinate, right? But when you think about it logically, it's all there in black and white, establishing it that the Northwestern Railway is on standby. The North Norfolk Railway is nearly about deceased, dead, buried. The name itself is dead and buried in general. So once that's done, everybody can move forward with a new name on it. A new when you've got new volunteers and staff and all of that, the management will be myself and the others, and they will have. Then I have a few words with them in general. I said, "Why do you want to drop the prices for?" I said, "If you want to gain people's respect, you're gonna have to start from the beginning and work your way up because you can't do it from what you are doing. People haven't got that money right now, nor would they ever, because people had a tough time and acknowledge that two wrongs don't make a right, and number three, a lot of people will say in in their own opinion, they know I'm right, I will not bullshit, but it acknowledges everything else. So when you realise what was unfolding, why why do you think people know what to do in this problem? I said, if you want to take away the bad stuff, you're gonna have to start fresh with the new. You can't work with left, right, or centre. It's like I said, I've taken the good stuff away from the actual North Norfolk Railway because they don't deserve it. Respect goes a long way. Respect and honesty and trust goes a long way. And that's why they what they've done is that they broke themselves off from the actual chain of command. They screwed up the chain of command. So when the chain of command is still going, well, who do you think is clearing up the mess right now? Myself. So realistically, the North Norfolk Railway's failed. The NWR or the Northwestern Railway is on standby, ready, ready and waiting. So when you think the North Norfolk Railway is failing, don't go to their Facebook, don't go to their Google reviews, don't do nothing. Just take it to pinch of salt and say, I'm not going there. Right? Just get that in your head. Some of you will certainly agree. There's a lot of things that need recorrecting before they can move forward. If the North Norfolk Railway want to continue to go forward with all the baggage and all the problems they got, I said it's not even worth it. Everybody knows right. Even if I'm in my flat or whatever I do, right, all the community are aware of the situation. They are aware of every action you made the North Norfolk Railway has done, action wise, consequences wise, and selfishness and untrustworthy and unkind. Bang. We not like that. The Steam team and myself are already on board. We're just waiting for the green flag. If the North Norfolk Railway would got so bad in the first place, they could have revised themselves and get the problem sorted correctly, corrected correctly without no bullshit, and then get everybody back on track because everybody is feeling gutted, feel like there's nothing forward to go forward. All they've seen is all the damage that's been done, and that's the reason why the North Norfolk Railway won't fight back on me because they know that I'm telling the truth and being honest. I'd rather them think, oh crap, yep, and the Northwestern Railway name will reboot the sequence and then start fresh. We can't always keep the same name to actually refresh everything. The I just feel like the website of the Norfolk Railway is very bad. The Facebook is partly telling truth, part lie, and then you're establishing that oh it's good, it's good, it's good, and then when you really work it out, it isn't because the bad baggage caused that problem. That 2019 people should realise I have eyes and ears everywhere, and I do not disrespect anyone, but when you've got a railway to run or a road that to be rebuilt or whatever, just think about why I know these things inside and out because a lot of people want answers they cannot always have, right? And a lot of people are starting to work it out slowly and acknowledging it and realizing that the North Norfolk Railway isn't the best place to go to. Why do you think I am waiting for them just to give it up? Because if they give it up, we can start fresh. It will make me feel really useful instead of staying in one place. So if you really think about it, it's logic, it's truth, and it's respectful. When you think about the North Norfolk Railway, the service, the travel, the food and water, right? When you go to other places, you may get it cheaper than others. I know that, but the North Norfolk Railway will always be the greatest problem of all time. It's a problem that you can't always solve on a silver platter. It's something you have to take into consideration and realize if people haven't got the ability to understand why the North Norfolk Railway is about to go, it's a dead name. The management don't give a damn as long as they got money coming in, right? Then the volunteers will start losing faith into the railway because the railway's gone. Because they just like the volunteers, I just have like to say, "Oh, I'm enjoying this, I'm enjoying that." Then the next minute they do, you know, like the ice cream trick where you get a taste and the lick and they take it away from you. That's what's happening at the North Norfolk Railway, right? Because it's the ice cream that you lick and then it gets taken away from you. That's where the North Norfolk Railway's done. So what do you think that I could sleep all night and wake up in the morning feeling fine as usual, but I still have to do the work I was set out to do? I'm just recorrecting the problems that the North Norfolk Railway had really set out in motion. So when you think of it logically, that the North Norfolk Railway will not realise how much of a deep problem they got. They can't acknowledge it, they just keep it under the rug or think they got it under the rug and then they're just ending up with this big pile and then ending up saying, well, we'll leave it there until we are ready. I said, don't leave it there because you will totally forget about it and ignore it. It's a word to express it. The Northwestern Railway, my company, my organisation and company for slash, which it isn't LTD or PLC, right? We establish that we treat everybody as equal. We treat everybody with trust, honesty, and respect, and we also put people's problems in the office, not in the public eye. Okay, that's where the Norfolk Railway screwed up. So when they faced me when I mentioned it in the last podcast, I told nearly everybody knew about that action and consequence. My ad, nearly everybody knows who I am, what I am, and what I'm able to do and able to solve a problem instantly. If you want the North Norfolk Railway to continue the way it is, all you're doing is committing yourself to doom. If you get it swapped over to the North Western Railway, it makes sense on all the events unfolding. I can't continue that story unless I'm back on that platform. It's a bit like saying the North Norfolk Railway, as a name, is dead. Right? I know it's hard for a lot of people for not to realise what needs to be done, but it makes the facts realistic. So please, always keep an eye on what is a need and a want, because by the time you realise and break it all down into three categories or four or five, you've got to realise there's more to it than a naked eye. Thank you very much indeed.